Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK 2019 Summer. We've gone the distance in this, the final series of the night. KT bringing things back to order against a SANDBOX that decided to lose halfway through that game.
Man, on your screen behind us, Score was the MVP of game number 2. And I actually, during the replay that they were showing during the MVP analyst desk segment, realized that Score was not playing Hillbilly Gragas this time. He was on the Arctic Ops OP skin, so that's
Whoa.
It almost feels like when FLICKR accidentally queued up as Battle Bunny Riven because the Tournament Realm client had it practiced and thus was already pre-locked in. Something about my childhood just went away there.
I know, something in me died. I'm going to forget that you even mentioned that, and I'm going to assume that it was Hillbilly Gragas because that is the correct Score pick, and nothing can change my mind. Here we are in the Champion Select for game number 3 between KT and SANDBOX. We find ourselves on the same sides of the rift as game number 1. Tam, Yumi, Karma were the bans for KT, and SANDBOX took away Akali, Kalista, and Nautilus.
Definitely some shakeups expected from that game number 1. But we rolled back the Camille versus the Aatrox matchup, and that was something that KT were able to find a lot more inroads from than they did in the previous game. So I wonder if we'll be treated to a 3rd game in a row of that matchup. Definitely the possibilities, as right now, the ban list is only Ezreal different from game number 1.
Yep. The Ezreal banned away means that Ghost is going to have to look elsewhere. He was certainly dominant in that game also, despite someone stealing away the MVP. So we'll see where he's going to go, and SANDBOX taking their time here for the final ban. It was Nautilus last time, it's Xayah this time. Try and get some access onto that AD carry. Felt like Featherstorm was giving KT a little bit too much value.
A lot removed from Prey though, with these 3 champions on the ban list. Kalista, Xayah, Ezreal are his only champions played more than 4 times. From there it's Kai'Sa, Lucian, Sivir. And someone else is Ashe, of course, is one to remember.
Yep.
Is potentially going to be selected. Look at the priority of the Gragas jumping up. There were multiple games where KT were not picking or banning the Gragas. It felt like only Cuz was a notable on the Gragas players in recent memory, but a first pick comes in, and with the first pick, you always have that same name on your lips. Yasuo potential here for the side of KT Rolster.
So far, BDD has lost the only game that he's played this season. As 1 second to go, the Draven blind lock-in is coming for SANDBOX.
And what are we pairing with it? Do we want to take a support now?
Do they just lock in Draven Thresh and say, come at me, bro?
That is definitely a way to go. Morgana, also a possibility.
Yeah.
But I think you need something. Draven Thresh is definitely the most aggressive. And if you get started with this lane, you spread your lead. And Atlas, you are the prophet this time.
Well, Draven Thresh does come in. It was banned in game number 2 in the 2nd round, and SANDBOX don't give it that opportunity. It's now KT. Do they just lock
Kai'Sa,
away?
Braum, and hope for the best?
Yeah, I mean,
Kai'Sa,
Nautilus, I think, being available is certainly something to go for here. If you're KT, what do you do that stands toe-to-toe with Draven? I guess there's not a whole lot. The fact that the Ezreal was banned by KT as well means that you can't go for that sort of relatively safe option, although Draven does eat through Ezreals relatively easily.
Kai'Sa at least lets you have some timing attacks. They're going to hover the Lucian here, which does fight early, but is certainly risky against Draven.
Do you want to fight a Draven early is the question, and KT say yes, I guess.
I tend towards no on that one, but KT aren't willing to give up at least a potential for a lane they could play through and go the way of Nautilus Lucian. I would not have assumed this, but they are not surrendering 2v2 at all. Gonna try and fight for it. SANDBOX's first round. Champion like Aatrox is open. The jungle pool could be considered, and because of all this focus, we actually zone out from the fact that Corki and Azir were open the entire time. The Azir lock-in comes in, the bans can follow.
Yep, Dove going to be able to take that one away from BDD. I think that is a big one. BDD's Azir performances, even in games that they lost, he was getting solo kills, things like that. He's very, very good. Corki and Yasuo could be the bans here if they want to, but as far as the damage range, I mean, KT can sort of put anything in any lane at this point with the Gragas roaming around in the jungle.
All right, first thought, BD's champion into Azir. What are we feeling like?
Ooh.
There's two names I'm playing with in my head, and I want to see which one you say first.
Well, what my body is wanting and hoping for is Kiana. That is absolutely what I want.
And there was a Kiana ban, I believe, in game number 1.
There was.
Okay.
That's what's sort of springing to mind, but the Zed certainly comes out also.
See, I got two other names. I got the Yasuo, because Gragas is in the game. That one's understandable. How about BDD's trusty Xerath? Because that would give them some big-time range that could poke out Draven before a fight starts and has the good matchup into Azir. So most people see Azir and think Vel'Koz as the pocket answer. We saw a Xerath hover before, and I would definitely be very excited and not be thinking about bet at all, even without a Zed, if we do see the Xerath.
I'd like it. Certainly is of the BDD flavor. I think the Vel'Koz is also relatively BDD.
I know,
we've only
but
seen it out of
I'm choosing to not allow that one.
Yep, yeah. We want what we want, and I think that it's okay. As Skarner is being looked at here for OnFleek, which is certainly not his early game vibe, but both of those main champions have been taken away, the Lee Sin and the Xin Zhao.
And it's Gragas, so Predator versus Predator is definitely one way to go in this matchup. Sejuani, fine as well, so tank jungle comes. Does he dare pull out the Xerath? Does BDD? He has been practicing this incrementally. He's always been willing to dust it off in this particular matchup. So I'm wondering about it, Atlas.
Well, Kingen could certainly go towards this Aatrox pretty comfortably. We don't care about Kingen's pick.
No,
just get it out of the way. 3 seconds. You ran the whole clock down when it's Aatrox and you're definitely going to pick it. Come on, guys.
It could even be a mid lane Aatrox if you're going by LEC, but
that's true.
We're hoping for the Xerath.
BDD was one of our resident Aatrox players as well, back when he did make his rounds in the mid lane for the LCK.
I'm trying to lip read him. I'm trying to see if the name Xerath comes up.
Yeah.
It's harder when you don't speak much Korean. Just waiting for that to be formed. Do they dare?
Just one Zed.
Hey!
Oh, there we go. Papa the Prophet.
You picked the Thresh. I got the Xerath, baby.
There we go.
All right. Let's do it. I almost thought I would say let's go. That was not broadcast appropriate. Let's friggin' go, I say on this one.
Yep.
So, what are we doing with this one? On the side of SANDBOX, there's a murmur around the crowd. They're like, wait, Xerath's a champion? Yes, he is. Buffed on this patch for a lot of different times. Gonna see the Renekton locked in. The reason why, it was more than just Azir is in this game. It's literally the 5,000 range Xerath has now at level 1. It's less at level 3, but until level 16 you're fine. One way to deal with Draven is that he has all of his overshield from his Bloodthirster and his health bar just poked out, and you have so much range as Xerath with all your different spells that poking out Xerath before we have our mid-range versus mid-range 80 carry battle could actually be pivotal here. Because if SANDBOX close the distance, damn do they do a lot of damage. But if they come in at half health, Aatrox gets that first kill. Maybe they're healing all the way to the bank.
Yep, not to mention the gank assist for the Xerath in that lane as well to try and get him going is certainly going to be there, with the Gragas just being so good at ganking and Xerath having so much damage to follow up as well. I have a feeling that murdering an Azir within the CC bar range is a definite possibility as this game goes on, especially after Score gets towards that ultimate. That is going to be your KT roster. They pulled out the Xerath, finally. We've gone back to, what, 2015?
Papatlas grew together. We cut our teeth on LPL Spring 2015. Every game was Azir versus Xerath Shurima battle. Every mid lane turret lived to 35 minutes. No one could kill a mid lane turret.
Yep.
And Rift Herald wasn't as much of a thing back then. You need Rift Herald to puncture through these AFK wave clear guards.
And that was back when Azir could press W on turrets as well. He was even better at taking those things down all those years ago. Let's see how it goes here in game number 3. Yeah, the SANDBOX fans over the other side of LOL Park for us here on the caster desk. But however, still in full voice, KT fans relatively deafening as they can smell victory in the air.
Smells a lot like Xerath. What do you reckon Xerath smells like?
I don't know, arcaneness?
What do you think Arcane... Look, you know how a blue drink tastes blue?
Yeah.
What does Arcaneness smell like? You got to give me
Bit
something.
electrical.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. Staticky.
So if there's a Pikachu and a Xerath, you couldn't pick the difference?
Yeah, you could, because Pikachu's got the fur.
Ah,
Yeah,
good
so
call, good
Pikachu's
call.
got a bit of a burnt fur type smell, I could imagine. It's hard to be a furry thing and also have a lot of electricity. You could imagine keeping your coat in order would be a toughie.
You are a resident expert on furry things, as...
I'm the one with 2 cats. That is entirely true.
This is true. BDD has gone for Scorch in the matchup. It's an outrange matchup. Again, cut from the same cloth as something like the Vel'Koz, but a lot of ability to snipe away from extremely long range. Basically, what you guys need to know is that Xerath range went from 3,000 something to 5,600 over the levels, but now is a flat 5,000. So yes, level 16 onwards, it's a straight up 600 range nerf, but is there a lot of range in 5,000 and 5,600? Is that very relevant in most cases? Probably not. And is it relevant when you get over 1,000 more range at level 6? Hell yes. So, theoretically, in most use cases, it's a Xerath buff. He's got the Comet. He's going to poke away at Dove's health.
And it used to not actually be as long as the lane that he was in at level 1. I mean, it felt like the ultimate really wasn't too much before this buff came in.
And
but
we
now
still
it's
remember
a huge deal.
really old Xerath ult. Has had so many different ults, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the champion has just completely changed how he works.
W used to be the sniper button that made you longer range on your other abilities.
Yeah.
Now it, of course, is the, I don't know how you would call it, targeted nuke, I guess you would call it. And now R is the equivalent of some of the other abilities.
Did his passive change, or is it still armor?
No, his passive changed ages ago.
Yeah.
Here's our last Xerath. Second last was BDD. Most recent was Ian over in the LPL now. And what about the matchup? It's basically only the one you dust off against the Azir.
Yep. Timeless, by the looks of things. Arcano Pulse rushes its way through the minions.
All right, you and I are going to have to do the most important bet. It's Xerath versus Azir. What is the timestamp when mid lane turret goes down?
Whoa.
I'm going to go with
28 minutes?
27. Oh, look at us.
Damn.
I was going for it before you said it, so I'm not doing the Price is Right situation here.
Yeah, no, but you've got it.
How
You
about
got
if it's
the under.
between 27 and 28, we just
Then we're
handshake and it's
both
a draw.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I like it. I like that.
We're so amicable here.
It's only a minute difference. It's going to be a toughie.
It's going to be 27-22 now, so we wait and see.
Yep. First rate going to be the Infernal. Talking about singed fur. Certainly going to be along those lines here. As that is going to be a Drake worth fighting over. We'll see where the score is going to continue having his finger on the smite button as effectively as he did in game number 1.
Now we see Summit on attacking Aatrox's duty, so the role reversal for the first time this series.
Yeah, that's a big one, actually, being able to try and punish a champion that he's got so much control over, and also we get to see Summit on a different champion, the Aatrox certainly being his most practiced and also his most successful.
And I think just in general, seeing him on a different role as well is the most welcome thing. Him weathering the storm pretty well in game number 1 and decently in game number 2 before being answered was one thing, but seeing Summit as the aggressor is going to be a really fun byproduct, and that does mean priority top side. It's already Draven Thresh, so you know they have priority bot lane, and Xerath only really takes over this lane after first back, after Lost Chapter, so early game. SANDBOX have a pretty huge priority draft. I'm going to wait and see if Score can do anything to mess up that equation.
Yep, Score just checking some brushes here to make sure there's no sneaky Sejuanis in the area. Decent knock up there from Kingen onto Summit. But the Gragas not opting in for anything at the moment. Not able to grab the Rift Scuttler either. As OnFleek was able to secure that. See, a bit of a back away here from SANDBOX. They don't know where Score is, and Score's going to be able to get into the enemy jungle. Start causing a ruckus. Agatha going to be his first target. As we have a look bot side, it looks like the Lucian's doing absolutely fine down here. As the Draven goes back, gets the earliest possible Vampiric Scepter.
OnFleek hasn't been jungler around bot side, so yeah, they've been showing a lot of respect so far in this game, and because there's so many potential pressure points here, here's bot lane.
Yeah,
Joker trying to freeze the wave as much as possible.
Going to be able to quite do too much there, as he in fact
some good CS
messed
so
up
far.
a few of the minions.
No. He got the first one, that was pretty good. Get this one.
Yeah, and even gets the Relic proc as well, and Ghost misses his. Feels bad, man.
Definitely don't see Relic as much on Thresh anymore, but it is selected in this game.
The hyper skill choice, of course, needing to be able to last hit more effectively than you otherwise would be able to.
Summit didn't go for press the attack. I think when we saw Renekton Sejuani, it might have been this series, might have been the previous. It's a very obvious press the attack playthrough lane. Conqueror is for those extended trades, but Shojin, very, very powerful.
It was in fact what Khan went just earlier in the day.
The Drake cuts the ruse here for the Sejuani.
Yeah. Poking his head in. Can't get around that guy. Summit standing well and truly up in this lane. Gets full comboed there by Kingen and gets the electrocute proc. As I don't know whether you got enough fury to deal with that one with your Cull-to-Me, because he slices, dices, gets himself out.
Painful. Gotta say, visually, you can say what you want about balance, but visually, Aatrox Q definitely is very well represented. Effectively, it's just too strong.
Yeah. Well, the back is going to be put forward here by Summit. Gets himself the Executioner's Calling.
Healing reduction against
Whoa,
Aatrox.
What is this unthinkable item choice?
It's the first time today.
Yeah. Wow. This is some dark technology.
And that lets him cut down the healing.
Whoa, but wait, did he take cut down?
No.
He may have taken cut down
I think
as well.
everybody goes last stand on these champions.
Frustrating. I guess when you've got an ability like Dominus, it would make sense, plus self-healing. That being said, he is able to cut down the healing, so he's got it in spirit.
I wonder if Dove will go Morellonomicon as well. Oh, all of the healing reduction.
First item on Azir.
Yeah.
There we go. You don't need attack speed. You don't need mana regen. You need a Morellonomicon.
You know who doesn't need a Lost Chapter first? It's BDD, who wants to keep Dove on as low a health bar as possible. If I see this as Sejuani, I'm plotting a way to deny that first blue buff transfer away from the Xerath.
Of course, Xerath's new passive that he managed to get about 4 years ago does help him in the mana department, which is why he's not as priced in to picking up that particular Lost Chapter.
What you were referring to is it used to be 15% of AP turns into armor.
Yeah, he was like the armor version of Vladimir, sort of.
I mean, Jax also used to have similar passives, right?
Yeah.
Around AP and AD for health, but there's been a lot of different passives like that. KO had similar passive as well.
Oh man, yeah, thinking back to that one, that was a long time ago.
Do you remember what KO's passive was before it was the hyperscaling passive?
Nope.
When I started playing, KO's passive was when allies die, you get attack speed.
Wow, so it's Varus.
Allies die. Like your teammate had to die, and then you got strong. It was very weird.
It's like, go in and die, please. And then she's also very supportive.
Turns out League of Legends in 2010 wasn't a fully formed idea.
It certainly wasn't. When Twisted Fate's ultimate was in fact an E ability, that's when you know things were going wrong.
Well, things aren't going wrong in mid lane, which means wave clearing.
OnFleek doing the I'm going to gank her. Okay, is going to find it. Doesn't get the ultimate, but BDD did step forward. Doesn't press the flash button. Doesn't need to. And OnFleek probably should land that ability more.
Boots 2, baby. Gives him a little bit of movement there, but mostly the miss is probably what they're to focus on. The crowd very impressed that BDD didn't need to flash.
I think BDD's like mechanical skill there, just hectic.
To be fair, if you go TP Xerath against Sejuani Azir and then don't have to flash the first ult, you feel pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, Score paying attention to the bottom side of the map. Ghost just farming here against these minions, and the entirety of KT's bottom lane going to get the heck out of the way. Okay, Summit going to break the Infernal Chains. Kingen not going to find the sweet spot there, but still not going to be able to win that trade in any amount is Summit.
And your all-in button is definitely delayed compared to getting a Spear of Shojin as fast as possible. Joker putting down the Lantern for a fake gank, but KT have a ward in that brush, so they definitely weren't scared of anything.
Yep. I believe SANDBOX looking for a control ward potentially with that Lantern.
This is a nice mind game from Score, because now he can play in the brush. Also worth knowing that Joker was checking the brush with W. That's how Lantern works.
Yeah,
gives you vision.
yeah.
So it's kind of doubling down as a fake gank, or potentially just a check.
Well, Score is going to complete the back. Looks like the vision control is going to be swept here by OnFleek to make sure that KT's bottom lane needs to play honest.
Backing them up. I think both Lucian and Draven only really work with a lot of jungle attention. So
yep. Or at least the threat of a lot of jungle attention, right? Like,
but at the end of the day, like so many times the analysis for a lost Lucian and Draven game is, why did you play that if you weren't going to jungle around it? So it's not Lucian Braum this game, but it is a very powerful Draven lane, and I'm always pretty clear about this, and I'm sure some Thresh mains disagree, but I really believe Thresh has almost no role in the late game. Like, he really struggles to get a lot done, and if he dives in, he dies after the box comes down. So because it's so hard to play late game Thresh, and he's so obnoxious when you get first turret and roam around, his roaming is insane during the laning phase. Anything to get Ghost and Joker through this lane and potentially first out for a catch could be so big for the side of SANDBOX.
SnowFlower makes the roam over. Shelly has been started on fleek. Not actually going to put a ward into this pit, but they are pinging it.
Doesn't have a control ward to put down the back.
Yeah. Do I have a feeling that it has been started as Kingen channeling the back, but isn't going to do it, and Shelly makes her way back into the pit. Trying to utilize that here as more Arcano pulses here in the mid lane. Xerath's ability names are super cool. Like what, Eye of Destruction?
Rise of the Arcane is the old, right?
Ride of the Arcane, yeah.
Rise or Rite? Rite. A Rite of the Arcane, okay. That was close. I don't actually have the spreadsheet in front of me, so I have to remember them.
Yeah.
What's his name?
It's like Mana Surge.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I did look that up. I didn't know the name of the passage.
I would have actually queried your knowledge. Like, there are things that there's always things we don't know, but knowing that passive name is
yeah, no, that's silly. I only know Arcano Pulse and Ride of the Arcane. They're the only ones you need to know.
That's fair.
Because the other ones are Stun and Slow.
There you go.
It's the old Jat adage, which is if the ability name says a little bit, like sounds like what it does, then use it. Otherwise, what good is it actually provide?
If it's shoutable, go with it. If it's not shoutable in a team fight, that's kind of how I think about it. Draw a bead! It's not really any... No one has said that during a Tristana team fight. In a team fight?
Yeah, because she's got extra range, therefore she was able to auto-attack that carry in the back.
Oh, Atlas.
That's somewhat relevant.
No one's been piercingly lit this game, but there's still time.
Oh, I mean, I think they have. They just haven't been on the screen. As Ingo's on fleek, gonna nail this ultimate. Kingen gonna flash immediately, throws the ultimate down. Summit pressed his R button as well. R buttons everywhere. And just the flash to be gained.
Don't really understand why Summit ulted. He didn't have a Spear of Shojin to get more damage if he flash W'd, so bit query on that one. They pulled away quickly.
Yeah, okay. Just gonna help with the leash there. Is Ghost with the Whirling Death. May as well try for it.
Huh.
Okay.
KT making some smart choices here around the map, and Kingen able to flash early and get away. Again, the stakes here are really high for both teams. SANDBOX aren't locked in to playoffs. A win here would have guaranteed that. KT aren't locked out of relegations, but a win here go a long way to get out of relegations. So with everything up there, with SANDBOX playing for top spot, we shouldn't forget that for how good SANDBOX were in the first 6 to 7 weeks of LCK Spring, when it came down to the must-win games at the end of the season, their consistent loss streak was the reason they fell all the way to the wild card when they were second or third for a lot of Spring.
Yep, exactly right. And the thing that's a huge problem about this game is this changes the... If they lose here, it changes the SKT matchup later in the week to who's going to be playing for a potential spot in playoffs. With, you know, the fact that a FLICKR, the fact that Gen G both vying for that position as well. If you fall down to that 8 losses mark, it's real scary.
Not in all cases, but like you say, there's definitely multiple scenarios where that's true.
Yeah.
So many conditionals this week, not a lot of guarantees. The real guarantee is Griffin wins both matches on their first.
Yep.
Every other kind of minutia is up in the air.
OnFleek makes his way down. SnowFlower waiting in the brush. Score in position. I feel like Score's old jungle spidey senses have been tingling at all the right times. The last couple of games, maybe his old favorite in the Gragas is the one that's helping him here. As OnFleek has the ultimate back available yet again. You can see PDD making the roam down.
He can make the roam from far away with that new ult range as well. Don't forget that.
Yeah. Score gets himself into the brush. Good check there from Joker. And OnFleek still waiting in the area.
All flashes up.
Yeah, Score gonna walk away. Decent damage there onto Frey as Ghost going to lifesteal back up once again. Talking about summoner spells. Ghost has gone back to the heal this time.
OnFleek's in.
Okay.
Leave a Buster, please.
Well, if he's AFK, we need to go back to our Poro conversation because Why are you still panting, Poro? You ain't been doing nothing. Nothing at all.
He's even playing around Rek'Sai passive, and Rek'Sai isn't in the game. Wasn't moving at all in that brush. Finally moves.
I think
welcome back, OnFleek.
Yeah, OnFleek finished brushing his teeth or something like that. Went to the bathroom real quick. You know, like if there is a bathroom issue, then you can use the pause button.
And we haven't had a toilet issue in a while.
Yeah, OnFleek going to move back to doing nothing in a brush. This time has at least the ability to clear out a ward, as SANDBOX just going to brute force this bottom lane.
But it's with a smart timing. There's TP advantage on Summit, and BDD can't go for a combat TP, so BDD has a limited TP option, Kingen has no TP, so they've got enough resources bot side to make that play eventually. They take it down, and even though we got to laugh about the AFK, they're not laughing KT, losing first turret of the game.
Yeah. Well, Kingen still fighting against Summit here. Summit does have a slight advantage, but as this matchup goes on, it's very different to the last couple of Aatrox games that we saw out of these two teams, because the Aatrox is going to have a little bit more to do in the later stages.
Very interesting to consider the idea of scaling between these two teams. Because you think about it, both AD carries are criticized for what their mid to late looks like when they're not fed. Well, we're farmed, but fed is definitely not happening so far in this game. If you see Aatrox, which usually is a scaling teamfight advantage over Renekton, and to many degrees it will be, there's quite a lot of tools from SANDBOX to interrupt an Aatrox, right? They've got Emperor's Divide, they've got Sejuani ult, they've got so many different ways to interrupt. There's no guarantees about the late game, and obviously Xerath can be feast or famine. Rift Herald. Early start here by KT.
Yep, they are going to be able to lock that one down. You can see they switch their bottom lane towards top side. Prey also going to be here as well, but just a little bit late to the play. Not going to contest. Not going to be getting any plates or anything like that, but could be helped. Shelly could be her help in order to push down one of these turrets and try and grab that one. SANDBOX with a lead in that department, which is why they've got themselves a slight advantage.
And the slight advantage for the KT side, though, would be Nautilus over Thresh coming into the late game.
Yep.
Thresh's main job, I think, is just interrupting Aatrox wherever possible.
And Xerath he's always been an interesting conversation when it comes to late game. He's pretty binary with what he does, but he does it from a relatively safe distance.
With Baron, super duper overpowered. Without Baron and against Baron, not as overpowered.
Yeah.
So, the conditionals are real in this game.
In a team fight scenario as well, like if anyone ever closes the distance onto the Xerath, he dies.
Which, if you look at the enemy team, I wouldn't say that's one of their strong suits. If it's like a proper kind of in-vision ARAM kind of play, it's hard to close the distance on the Xerath.
Yep. Storm not going to be able to steal this one away. Teleport maybe a little bit too late as the Dominus does come down from Summit. Not sure whether he can dice, but he can take a lantern. As the Rite of the Uncane has been issued, but not doing enough damage here to SANDBOX, especially not to the tankier members.
It used to be Morellonomicon back when it was the 20% CDR item into Nilasaj's Rod is when we would see that big damage uptick from BDD. He will have the Nilasaj Rod on next back, and you'd assume that's going to be the way he goes. You have such immense range to something like a Banshee Veil or defensive items. You don't draft Xerath, you're going to build defensive items.
You know what he's going to build?
What's he going to build?
Oblivion Orb.
He could.
That's what's going to happen. Morellonomicon is the second item. Just how it goes is OnFleek. He's going to get caught. He's going to oh no! The lantern is blocked. He's going to go golden, but Dove is too busy dealing with Shelly. The culling is outranged as the Flash Arctic Assault are going to be enough to get OnFleek out of there. Super amazed that he was able to survive, but a really cute interaction blocking the lantern right.
Biggie lives a charmed life, but it's to the benefit of Draven getting solo experience and gold. On the top side, they will lose the mid lane turret, so we're both wrong. 27 minutes was our earliest expectation. It's a 19-minute mid lane turret, given everything that happened, and OnFleek only just escaping with her life was the Sejuani.
I guess Shelly does skew. Those particular games, she didn't exist when we were last commentating together the glories of the Xerath versus Azir every game.
Is that replay. Q available, Lantern interrupted.
It was the depth charge that went off midway through, but this, oh man. He can dodge bullets. He's not Neo, he's a lady on a pig. Still able to
나이스! 제대로 막았어 얘들아. 나 이거 친다.
leave. Nice.
Simple, but effective.
Yeah. Joker thinking like he blocked everything to make sure that he helped his Jungler out.
True team player is OnFleek. Is I'm happy you were wrong, Atlas. It wasn't an Oblivion Orb. It wasn't either Sludge Rod.
Wow, he did it.
Do you know why you go this way? It
Why?
means that you can clear the backline safer. So you need to keep your AP higher as Xerath. Otherwise, backline wave clear is not as trivial as some champions.
Yep, and the minions start to outscale your ability to clear them out. Okay,
I'm dusting off my 2015 analysis
there
on
you
Xerath.
go.
It's mostly still fitting.
Mine's a bit rusty, obviously. Still trying to get myself back up again. Sometimes you sort of shelve some of the champion knowledge. It's hard to hold all of it in your brain at once.
And sometimes matchups change. Like the Gnar Kennen matchup was a famous Kennen counterpick, and now people pick Gnar into Kennen.
Yeah.
Pretty reliably. That's not just on hit versus AP. It's the runes have changed some of the things there.
How does Shen Gnar go these days? Because that was a counterpick as well. Not sure whether that's the same kind of matchup.
I mean, still Shen doesn't have a lot of ways to interact against a range opponent. The nice thing for Shen was he was buffed on recent patches, so we might see some more Shen next patch. Joker, I'm sure, will be dusting him off in support.
Oh, definitely.
It's more of a top lane buff, but we may very well see it. No kills so far. It's going to be pretty late first blood. I wonder what our latest first blood has been this year. I want to say like 24 to 28 minutes.
Yeah, certainly has. We have had some late ones, and it's not like the LCK not to have a bit of a lull state, and I feel like the entirety of this game has been a lull state.
It was Xerath versus Azir. We knew it was coming.
Yeah. We were owed this particular style of game. That being said, SANDBOX still have themselves a lead, and they've nullified that Drake advantage that KT managed to secure for themselves earlier on. Prey's going for the deft style of build. The Essence Reaver has come in.
Scaling, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you scale if you know the game is going to be a bit of a slow-paced one? You already have a Black Cleaver on the team through the Aatrox.
Yep, OnFleek going to be able to take away the Rift Scuttler, takes a Lantern Ride to safety. Love it.
And extend the game, baby. I wonder what the world record for latest First Blood is.
It'd be like 30-odd minutes, but
it couldn't be much later than like 38, right? I bet it's not 40. So
yeah.
Maybe we could break a world record today.
Have we had a game that's been won without a kill?
No. I think the lowest ever was 3. In the LCK, there was a 4 kill. Yeah. I watched the VOD. I was like, I don't remember this. And then I was casting it. And I was like, oh.
I'm sure it's happened before. You know, you got a team that does Baron and then the other team just wins somehow.
I think there was a FLICKR Freaks where Kramer got 4 kills and had 100% kills.
That sounds like an FLICKR Freaks game.
Kramer's still doing well for LGD. Shout out to Kramer.
Yep. When I look at the LPL results and I see that LGD have been winning, I'm like, what is this? Where am I? That's not the LGD I know.
Well, I mean, don't worry. They back it up with losing most of the time.
Ah, okay. They're buttering us up just so they can bring us down.
Not quite 2015
I was
levels
gonna
of
say,
buttering up.
I still feel salty for 2015 world.
LGD with a Griffin of 2015 as well. Hold that point.
We're going to find the ult onto Prey out of nowhere. We don't get the death sentence, but it still may be that, as there's a gigantic Sejuani in the backline. Summit has found his way on top of every KT member. First blood finally goes down as Dove is popping off. Kingen's able to get some work done, but instead it's a triple kill for the Azir. And Dove showing BDD that he can do it too.
Kingen got interrupted on what looked like a potential cleanup for the Aatrox, and with BDD going down so early and some big meatballs to tank up the turret. Multiple kills come in and multiple turrets as well. We waited for action. It was pre-30, and it's big stuff for SANDBOX on their hope of picking up the Baron.
Yep, so many stopwatches now broken as well. They were the Golden Boys, all just chilling, waiting for the Sand Soldiers to take them down. Dove just got a gigantic injection of gold, and Ghost is pretty pissed off with that.
And Dove already had 2 items done on Azir too, so
yep.
Gonna be a pretty big back timing now with the Drake picked up as well. Watch the replay here of how this all happens. I definitely saw Aatrox potentially turning it around. Replay comes in, Prey's the one to be hit. BDD joins with solidarity. 2 carries the ones chunked out, and they need to close down BDD, otherwise he just backs off and ults. Into the front line we go. Summit waiting for the golden stars in his eyes to be removed. I saw the start from Kingen. Let's watch how he's interrupted. The flash came in, but they're able to turn on him and Prey and score offer nothing as Aatrox tries to get those further kills.
And Joker hits back-to-back death sentences. And I was looking at his, I saw that it missed Prey, but he landed on BDD at the beginning of the fight, then lands the next one to set up the next kill. Really beautiful stuff here as SANDBOX have themselves a 4,000 gold lead, and OnFleek feels like he's able to try and threaten for this blue buff as well. And if you're playing a game like this where there's a Draven being threatened but you're still ahead, you imagine the fear in the minds of the KT players and of course the KT fans here throughout LoL Park.
Look at the difference in itemization power levels between SnowFlower and Joker. It's an entire Locket
Wow.
and Kindle Gem versus just the upgraded gold item
Because
and
he went
QSS.
yeah.
SnowFlower has to be playing on a flank here or trying to surprise because he cannot try to play ARAM style front to back without being chipped down by anybody on the enemy team. Draven looks at him and laughs.
Yep. And you can see exactly why he needs to build the QSS as well, because otherwise he just can't put a ward down without just getting hooked and destroyed. And KT feeling the pressure, understanding that SANDBOX, they own most of the map, and you have to make decisions like that. I respect it, but it is still sad for KT fans here.
You can still play the items. That's what we're trying to say is there's a way this works, but a lot of sweepers, control wards, and the perfect ultimate backed up by some aggressive team play. It's what they need.
That's a cheeky ward there, spotting them out, throws the ultimate, SnowFlower going to QSS there. That's why. Playing to your items, beautiful. As Joker just misses that death sentence.
Now his item's not so good.
Yeah.
For another 60, 70 seconds.
Yeah.
SANDBOX were far too bold around Baron in game number 2, we should remember.
Yeah, I mean, they were far too bold as the clock struck a particular number, if you'll remember, as SnowFlower doesn't quite find his option. The Dark Passage was written on there, but he's able to get out. Absolutely fine. Shocking Orbs flying through. KT able to throw out a lot of different options here with this particular composition to see what sticks. Of course, if SnowFlower sticks one, he's going in, but at least still will be after a hit.
And we're in the mid lane.
Yep, we are Nayramming pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no turrets here either. We're just Nayramming for the sake of it. Beautiful. Death Sentence goes wide, vying for vision supremacy. And Summit going to try and head towards the bottom side.
SANDBOX waves are working for them a little bit more deftly in the side lanes than KT's are.
I feel like Joker has been incredibly high value with his lands and his Death Sentence.
What's your Nayram theme song in your head?
The Nayram theme song?
Mine's Team America.
Oh, yeah. I like it. I like it.
I can't hum it.
Well, you certainly can't sing it.
No.
Yeah. Oh, that's really
Heck
sad.
yeah.
Yeah, America, ooh yeah.
What's your Nayram theme song?
My Nayram theme song is Rebecca Black's Friday. That's the one that I like. There you go. As OnFleek is looking to try and stifle the Nayram, but there's a cheeky little ward. He was sweeping.
Hey, Renekton, get back in mid.
Yeah, what are you doing, dude? He's breaking the rules.
Oh, no,
you are allowed
he's
to
going
back.
straight.
You are allowed
He's going
to
straight down mid lane.
Yeah,
as well.
perfect.
To his credit.
There we are. He's got himself some items. The Renekton is in a decent spot, but he's going to be in a worse and worse spot as this game
Wait,
progresses.
OnFleek, you can't take jungle camps. Named and shamed
No, what is
by
this?
Jonas Strong. Caught him.
Ludicrous. Kingen's also.
Where you
he's
going,
like, well,
mate?
if you break the rules, I'm going to break the rules. I'm heading into the bot lane where everyone can see
This
me.
series is falling apart.
I thought it was an ARAM. I don't know what's going on. First, we're not on Howling Abyss. Travesty. Second, everyone's taking jungle camps.
Wait, this is definitely not allowed.
Oh, here we are. We're in a SANDBOX game again.
KT
Don't worry,
can't
we've come
possibly
back.
know about this one. They should pause if they find out the Baron's down.
Well, Ride of the Arcane comes in to spot that the Baron has been lost. Almost gets stolen. Good God, I thought that artillery cannon was going to do it.
He had the extra shot that we all forget about. You get quite a lot of them by the end. Almost a steal. He shot it out at 400 health.
Yeah.
On the Baron.
OnFleek just feeling like he can't outsmite score, but he can outsmite a Ride of the Arcane. I like that, playing with confidence as KT say, but you got a Baron? We'll take Cloud Drink. Thanks for the help.
How would you
Rose.
equate the two?
Well, it's like if you have a twin brother, for example, and it's Christmas time, and he gets a Nintendo Switch,
All right.
and you get dishes.
As
and
in-
you have to do the dishes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what it's like.
That sucks.
That's a not very good trade.
Oh, shucks.
I almost
Atlas.
had to say it.
You already
because
said
there was no real.
PO earlier this, and that's not
I
playoffs
know.
in this series.
I know. I'm not.
Why have you got such a a dirty mouth
I'm
today.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Your potty mouth needs to be retired.
Well, I mean, there was just a trade for a Baron and a Cloud Drake. How are you supposed to talk about that without possibly
You
letting
did it
something
very
slip?
lovely with your analogy, and then you just almost brought out some French language that's not broadcast appropriate.
The analogy's even worse. Oh, man. Well, SANDBOX can utilize this Baron that they took just under the noses of KT to take down this inner turret on the bottom side. They'd already dealt with the inner in the mid lane, and now we're heading towards that 10,000 gold lead. SANDBOX in a whole lot of control. The blue blades are real. Ghost doesn't even need to cash in right now in order to probably win this game, but we're waiting to see that gigantic gold number.
I'm all about big numbers. So's Twitch chat. They don't
Yeah.
like little numbers. They laugh at those ones.
Nope. As Ghost every time.
Here's
the,
another
rapid fire
record.
cannon goes
Does
up.
Riot know what the largest ever Draven cash-in and pro play was? Probably not. I'd love to know that stat.
Yeah, I'd like to get that stat as well. We've had some pretty big ones. I mean, Teddy did manage to get that cash in at the very end of that
We
Blue
never
Blades
saw
game.
more than 2K. That would be pretty epic.
Yeah.
All right. That's
Right
3.
of the
2
arcane.
more, right?
Dancing shoes for Summit. Oh,
Whoa.
that is some DDR skills right there from Summit. Really nice.
You know what? Now that you mention it, I could see Summit as a DDR guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Could you see him like
Yeah.
not looking at the screen, doing it?
Just being like really,
Yeah.
really good. Like those Osu pros. As OnFleek is going to come down and have a look at this turret falling down. The rest of SANDBOX had done their due diligence as the culling comes in very late, but it is going to at least protect the inhibitor.
Not quite the full late game culling buff. Level 16 is when that comes in.
Do you want to know some pretty cool trivia? Ghost not only has
747 stacks.
Whoa.
That is a lot of adoration.
He's actually a Boeing aeroplane right now as far as how full of stacks he is.
That's true.
It's huge. So, the bit of trivia I was going to throw out here is a reset's going to come down from SANDBOX is that Ghost not only has great Draven items for right now, but he has great Draven items for TFT.
Huh.
The perfect 2R rapid fire cannon Bloodthirster, and you can throw in whatever you want.
IE buffed. I know you haven't gotten to play a lot of TFT after the change. IE right now is actually really strong.
Yeah, no, I knew about that. I've been watching a lot of dog stream. So it's where I get my TFT knowledge.
777's coming up soon. That's the other Boeing that we can talk about here. In terms of numbers.
I'm not a fan of the 777. There's there it is.
Oh, it was there and it was gone.
Damn it. What's out? The A380 is the Airbus, but that's,
he was there ages
He's been
ago.
there for a while.
Has there ever been 1,000? There probably hasn't, right? Adoration stacks?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's been some really huge Draven numbers, especially here in the LCK, where we're known for not doing a whole lot of killing.
And you know what? We should give a shout out to the other 777 of League of Legends, Clear Love.
Yep, that is true. He is certainly known for his sevens.
EDG still in the race for playoffs, as far as I could tell.
Won't feel like the LPL if EDG doesn't make it. I want them to make it to Worlds, but I just don't know whether this iteration of EDG quite has it in them against the best of the LPL.
I think they finally found a jungler, you know, to kind of succeed Clear Love that could go places. I think JJ's been up and down, but I've liked what I've seen from him. He does bring a different style to the team. In this particular game, epic wave clearing because such is Xerath. I was very excited to see him for the novelty, but of course,
But now
his effect on the game is not very exciting.
It's like, yeah, I've got it. Wait, that still means what it used to mean.
I cast 2 Teemo games in a week that was the same.
Yeah.
When we had the accidental Teemo lock-in twice, and then it was like, whoa, Teemo! And then it was like, wait,
Whoa.
this champion does nothing after it.
Yeah.
He just runs
Hey,
down
it
lane
does
and
if
tries
you're
to push.
Viper.
That's true.
Viper wins on that champion.
Duo lane Teemo? Fine.
Yes. I always wondered why Teemo wasn't better in the bottom lane. Because he's got a blind.
Range is too
Blind's
short.
cool.
Needs mana, his range too short.
Yeah.
They gave him 100 range, he could definitely be a top lane.
Yeah. I don't want it to happen, please.
Well, you got your Nomnomicon a
There
little
we
bit later than expected. Enemy team has boatloads of MR.
And I feel like SANDBOX are winning this game of TFT. Look at all of the items that they've got.
Where's the... I feel like I didn't see when it was complete. This is a bit out of context, but Avoid stuff would have been just delightful for Xerath.
Yeah. I
Gonna be
mean,
tickling
normally
people.
the original would be to have completed that instead of Umbrella Nomicon here.
I don't even mind Oblivion or Avoid stuff. SANDBOX looking for this one.
Yep. OnFleek's going to find one, but it's only on to score, so not going to be able to capitalize on the Glacial Prison this time. SANDBOX just looking for it. Don't have to commit. Not going to. Cloud Drake live. Not looking for it just yet as a Kingen. Not going to find Joker.
That means BDD is flashless for the Baron fight. There's Rani ultimate, about 40 seconds away from done. SNDBOX just rolling down mid lane, cutting the wave before their own minion wave is live. Doesn't matter, of course, because the inhibitor turret is down.
Oh, look at this ring around the rosy that
It's a
SNDBOX
clever
are playing.
ruse.
Yeah, they're going to run straight through. Head towards this Baron. There is vision available. OnFleek, half the cooldown. That Glacial Prison is back available yet again. And guys, like, KT,
don't walk
move
up.
into position because they start this Baron almost every time.
Really good KT ward, though, allows KT to be a lot more defensive. They have a Pixel Brush ward.
Oh, look at this Ghost actually walking under the Sun Turret, utilizing that as his defensive line. Now KT.
They need a sweeper
Clear it out.
SNDBOX to know this ward is going to sweep this up. They're going to clear out this ward, and now things get trickier for KT.
Yep, Dove. Not quite able to get the last one. Just can you
Kill
sweep?
the one.
Yeah, there we are. There we are. Got it. KT thinking about doing the same thing is now SNDBOX looking for it. Glacial Prison back available again, but of course the Death Sentence is going to be a better option. Summit finds himself in a slightly awkward position, but does have a lantern available from
Smart
Joker.
from KT to have SnowFlower face check. Remember the QSS buys, playing
Yep.
towards his items here.
Yeah, OnFleek not going to get knocked up a second time there as Joker. They don't want to take too much poke on the side of SNDBOX. Throws out another Death Sentence. No joy. Arcane Pulse comes in. Depth Charge is thrown out here as Ride of the Arcane can just be put down on top of it. Joker might just be stolen as he needs the dancing shoes. Finds them at the very end. They're at the back of the drawer, I'm pretty sure.
Ray needs to be careful, can buffer some CC, but doesn't want to be face checking. Unsure if he has QSS. Haven't checked his items for a while. Thresh going to get a back timer here, as far as we can tell.
Yeah, has Aftershock, doesn't have any ability to get a teleport.
Oh, he's behind enemy lines. He's in a lot of trouble.
Yep, he's just straight up dead. He's going to flash for some weird reason. Goes into his
Why?
stopwatch, uses everything, and is definitely dead.
I don't know about the stopwatch there. It buys time, but the death timer is long. So it's not like SNDBOX are able to get much vision during his death timer.
They actually almost wanted him to die earlier so that SNDBOX would have him back earlier. 35 seconds now until the Thresh is going to be there.
We know how this goes. They have to stop Baron here, KT. It's 5v4.
Yeah, Whirling Death doing a fair bit of damage. Takes down SnowFlower's shield. Summit looking for his way in the back line. KT taking a fair bit of damage from this Baron, actually. It's only Kingen that's able to keep himself up. And SnowFlower does find his way in, but the follow-up damage is huge. Are the Blades going to finally be utilized here as Emperor's Divide is going to get Kingen out of there? But he flashes to get back through Dove. Shifts some sands, gets out right of the Arcane. Not going to be... Oh! Finds the last one as now Summit sacrifices himself. And SNDBOX is feeling so much like game number 2 as Ghost, the one-man army, flashes forward, finally cashes in, and gets himself out of the way.
I didn't even see the gold there. Onto the Draven. What an insane cash in his 4,000 gold, but it doesn't matter.
All of a sudden, 3,000 gold in the lead as now OnFleek was trying to get an opportunity to get over to this Baron. It's down to 1,400, down to 600 score. Secures it. And Joker, he's finally back, but he might just be back to sacrifice himself once again. What a disaster. You were talking about what the Thresh does in the late game. I found out, Papa Smithy, he dies.
Wow, a lot has happened here that we're trying to unpack. 4,000 gold from Draven, now a casual 2,000 gold lead, and yet they lose the Baron. The Xerath team has Baron, which we already explained is just a terror to consider. Engage happens here onto this particular fight, but in a 4v5, it was always about buying time, and Dove, because the Infernal Chain's armed, the start happens on the hate towards him, and even with his dancing shoes, BDD's pocket Xerath is too much.
Yep, I think he borrowed the dancing shoes from Joker there, and unfortunately...
Was it so much
they
damage
didn't
the
fit.
combat text wasn't there? Because I looked for the gold trick here, I was watching. Yeah, they didn't even tell us.
Yeah, what the heck?
Observer mode, please.
150 gold. 150 gold probably, I think. Maybe it was just too big.
What's the point of Draven if it
Uncalculatable.
doesn't show the big number? Well, you know what the point of Xerath is in a scenario like this. This should be a big siege moment, and all SNDBOX can do is a big roll of the dice to try to stop it.
Yep, OnFleek was offered a lantern and says, nah, mate. As here we go. This is the siege potential of the Baroned up Xerath. Ghost tries to dance it. He's not
Summit.
Oh, Summit is looking for the backline, trying to get in there as Prey's going to flash. Summit should be eliminated, and he is. Now OnFleek getting targeted. Great barrel there to cause some disarray, and KT continue pushing. Now SNDBOX without their Crocodile.
KT have all the answers. Remember, this series is to put distance between them and Humble Life and get out of relegations. It also stuffs up a lot of SNDBOX's aspirations for top 3. KT Rolster knocking on the door of an upset victory.
Yep, they are going to be able to at least take this one down. Remember, this is a trade. The inhibitor was already taken in the mid lane by SANDBOX earlier on in this series. SANDBOX still have a 3,000 gold lead, but is it going to mean anything?
30
As
seconds.
the hook is once again going to go wide. Myrtle chains go down Dove. Oh my god, this Draven damage is just repugnant.
His best friend Azir, the Birdman, doing damage too.
Prey trying to get those double taps. Remember, this is a very high damage Lucian build, but unable to secure it there.
Well, Draven can't get any stronger, so that's the good news.
No, he can sell boots.
Yes, but you know what I mean. Like he's close to the gap
Yeah.
of where you can get to. The problem is that Azir is also doing just crap tons of damage here.
And Dove is almost about to buy the Zhonya's Hourglass as well. Hasn't actually utilized his stopwatch just yet. And if you remember, he died to a Rite of the Arcane. Could have been pretty useful. Let's have a look at this replay once again.
It's really well played by BDD. He has Switz around him to catch Summit, and the moment Summit's flank is failed, this is a great moment for KT to try to close the game. However, you get to within Draven and Azir range, and I don't care if you got 8 items. If they're both hitting you, you die really fast.
Yeah, that is the Draven effect in this particular game. Well, we'll see whether Ghost can actually find himself an inroad, because the good news for KT fans, no more item slots. You know,
Azir,
just
one more.
Yeah, Azir does have one more, but the Draven, no more. So this is about as good as it gets. Prey has completed his 6th item as well.
What are our honest thoughts on Ghost build?
Ghost build? I mean, I'm not a...
He has Maw and GA.
Yeah,
Do you win this game with those 2 items, or do you go Essence Reaver more crit and try to 100% crit them and outplay? Maybe when Flash is up?
Maybe
With
maybe
Flash
he
down,
sells.
it's obviously really hard, but...
I think he really wanted more just so that he could avoid dying to just stray Xerath abilities.
But at some point, don't you just have to be redonkulous damage?
Yeah, I think you just at one point have to be able to two-shot
Maybe
the
sell
Xerath.
boots for Merc Scimitar and get 100% crit?
Yep, I like it.
Well,
I mean, Merc Scimitar won't do
It's
it.
a later decision, though.
Yeah, okay. SANDBOX setting themselves up for this counter siege. No more Baron available, which is why they're able to actually stave this one off. Now with minions just barreling towards their base, SANDBOX should be able to at least stabilize until this inhibitor comes back up again. But there's going to be a minute's time where the Baron is alive and that inhibitor is dead.
And if SANDBOX are the team we've built them up to, they're usually more clutch in scenarios like this, whereas KT, the last time they met these two teams, had 3 Infernal Drake Pike.
Yeah.
A huge amount of kills, and they threw it all away, Atlas. So KT definitely trying to gel as a team still come last week of summer season. And SANDBOX, with so much on the line, need to find a way to command that respect. Otherwise, again, we rip up our papers about playoffs and just have to ride the wild ride with the fans.
Yeah, I believe Ghost went back, got himself the elixir, and did so. So he's going to be hitting even harder, life-stealing even more. So much lifesteal already, especially with that lifeline passive. Whoever went down too low, you're guaranteed to proc that as well. As Joker,
He needs help.
yeah, caught out of position, does press the Locket of the Iron Solari button, and not quite enough of the rights of the Arcane for BDD to throw.
Doesn't have that long a cooldown when we get to late game, though. So we'll start to quickly tick down. KT were able to note the position of OnFleek. He was sighted by the minions. This is an Elder Dragon that is high value for both teams. SANDBOX with the extra trade on top.
Yep, and Joker a very long way away from it as well. So Kingen going to start tanking this one up, and he can do so basically for free forever. He's got so much lifesteal available to him, almost down to half health. KT not looking like they want a 50-50 this. They're looking to turn onto Joker. The box goes down. Prey is going to be slowed. This control ward is going to be eliminated, but Joker once again finds himself very low. OnFleek trying to find this flank position. He's caught out by Kingen, but OnFleek just bypasses him, looking for BDD in the back line. He's going to dive on through the culling off to the side, but Ghost has already killed BDD, now trying to kite. His score's going to go down next. Ghost, can the lifeline actually work? The GA's going to, as Kingen has to flash. SANDBOX, you mentioned that they have been clutch in the past. They're going to do it again as Kingen goes gold, just to see the error of KT's ways. It had to be like this, didn't it? It had to be the roller coaster that this squad is known for. Prey now in the mid lane trying to get rid of these minions as OnFleek Might have bitten off more than he can chew, but it looks like that SANDBOX can just move over towards a Baron. They can take the Elder if they feel like it. Looks like Ghost is going to solo that one down as Bray. Looking to 1v3, takes down Summit first. Can he find OnFleek? Dashes out of the way of one and decides to get out of there. All right, Ghost was busy soloing the Elder Drake. Is going to be able to get that one, but that was sexy play.
It was some sexy play from Bray. Hard thing to say, but we got it out there. But a lot of things have happened. Huge clutch move from OnFleek and Ghost to double flank around to get those kills after BD to die first. Still gets them the Elder, still gets them the maximum power Baron. That was so hard for SANDBOX to do because they're so heavily outranged. First OnFleek and then Ghost find the access here. It was the flank from OnFleek and then Ghost just getting down and dirty. He's got Guardian Angel, he's got the tank items, he flashes in, ends up in a flank position by the end, but his job is done through the Guardian Angel.
Yep, he was barreled into that position, but found himself in melee range to an Aatrox and straight up didn't care about it. I guess that's what happens when you have the more of Malmortius build. This was some vintage Bray though.
We haven't been able to say that too much this season, but 3 members, no problem, only Renection with any damage from the 3. Bray gets to buy some time, but of course does not avert the Elder Dragon and the Baron.
Ghost has got a Trinity Force. It's a lot of damage.
There's a lot of big deals on the side of SANDBOX, and notably, BDD very far behind in CS this game, 120 CS. Mostly map control.
In goes OnFleek, finds SnowFlower, not the target that he was looking for. That QSS going to work out once again as we got Ride of the Arcane going, aimed for Ghost, absolutely. More of Malmortius getting some value there as he needs to go and find a minion to kill.
Let's find some very specific praise for SnowFlower. There was that moment where he had QSS and nothing, and Thresh had the Locket, and he's absolutely played towards his QSS in every scenario where he needs to. He's blocked CC, he was the first person to face check. SnowFlower's actually played a really good game on Nautilus, and he's someone who's been a bit of a whipping boy for KT.
Yeah, we know exactly why now, because he did want to be able to face check to try and get vision, and KT did utilize it. For a large portion of the game, they now find themselves in a 9,000 gold deficit in this tower. Killed was an afterthought. They're just too strong. SANDBOX with this Elder Drake, with the Baron as well on top of it. The second inhibitor goes down, the third might be coming in next, but an inner turret still stands, and SANDBOX are going to play this one as textbook as they possibly can.
We're getting to the yakety sax time of the game, almost the 50 minutes that we very rarely get to in this meta. Double Elder potential being threatened. That respawns. Last part's the Baron here. It can't be a huge Baron because there's not a lot of objectives left on the map. For SANDBOX to take.
Almost caught out of position there, but Arctic Assault has a pretty good ability. The culling eating through Dove.
One,
right
two.
The Arcane, he's looking for it. This is blind, remember,
3,
guys. Oh,
4.
So close as Dove finally finds that stopwatch button, but the barrel nails it. I believe Runic Echo's finished him off there as OnFleek is going to come in. No, he's not. The depth charge, the longest one of all time, but Joker saving his jungler. The box is going to come in this choke point. I like the positioning.
Run!
The back timing comes down. Another Lantern. And Joker, the mother of this team, is able to save all of the naughty boys, getting themselves into tough positions.
This has been the mother of all video games. So much crazy stuff. You saying all the naughty words. Multiple people over 20,000 gold.
Any naughty words, okay? I just almost did. Okay?
If you did what you did on this broadcast and Twitch chat, I'd ban. Just to be clear. So.
What, say shh? I said shh, okay? I think you're allowed to shush people.
I'm watching your mind over there, Atlas. Let's watch about the replay here. And again, when Xerath used to be a thing way back when, it was 3 shots with the ult, right? And that's why I always count them, because it's always way more than you think. 5 is so many from the oppressive range it comes from. And Gragas says, thank you very much. They time it perfectly. But watch how far the fat Sejuani gets.
Woo!
Way over the wall.
That's one hell of a depth charge. That went through, like, you know, the tunnels in, like, the Swiss Alps, you know, you see the train lines and stuff like that. It was one of those tunnels that the depth charge just went through to try and chase after that particular Poro riding lady.
And these 100 CS advantages are getting more and more irrelevant. We're half an item away from BDD being full up himself. I wonder what his item will be. Maybe... You could, there's a lot of different ways you could go. It could even be Twin Shadows.
Yeah.
And, I think Banshee Veil is the most obvious one.
Zhonya's makes sense as well, given the way SANDBOX have been fighting.
But I feel like, do you ever come out of Zhonya's happy as a Xerath. You know what I mean? Like, you probably wanted to flash and or tank something with your Banshee Veil much more often.
The way SANDBOX have been fighting is that they sort of like jump in and then ignore everyone, so maybe if he doesn't die. This is the longest game of the Summer Split, by the way, guys.
And it's such an important one, too. KT no stranger to long games, but that's much more a 2018 and previous thing. What does it all mean, Atlas? SANDBOX still in a great position, and yet KT can still outplay.
Well, SANDBOX, oh, Prey, Imperial Scimitar, pretty good item. He's got 6 items that are not boots, by the way.
And KT have to find a way to hightail it to Elder around the 51-minute mark, because that double Elder is where things just get ridiculous.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Draven does the second most damage by far, as each of the soldiers just obliterates your health bar from his ear.
Well, Ghost gets the most value here. He sold the GA when it was on cooldown, bought a Trinity Force, now went back, sold his boots, and got his GA back when the cooldowns came back up again. That's a play.
He's a rich boy.
He certainly is.
And his bounty doesn't matter, because if he dies, most likely.
Yeah, this Christmas, he's not getting a new Nintendo, he's getting a Mercedes.
Now, KT...
That's the kind of boy he is. Oh my god, SnowFlower! How did you find that hook? As Joker is the one that sacrifices himself, but Ghost gets him into a decent position. Joker, is he going to be able to survive? The answer is yes, as now KT find themselves relatively routed as well. SnowFlower's relatively low. Immediate QSS there as OnFleek has the Gargoyle Stone Plate. Somehow, no one has died.
I think OnFleek has been very smart. He throws out the ult to get a recall timing and some cooldowns out of KT, because Thresh needed to recall to make anything happen. Are we going to see a trade of objectives? I'm not sure KT want this one, but they don't have a great option to contest the Elder anymore.
Well, the Elder Drake is going to go down. Remember, there is an inhibitor dead in the bottom side of the map. There is super minions in the base. Baron Recall is going to get KT back there. But even with the Baron, what can they do against this burn damage?
And they have to accept it, though, because they have no positioning on the Elder, but you're right, it doesn't feel great. They get something.
This is the strongest Draven I've ever seen, ever.
You know, I tend to agree, if we're not talking about at a certain game timing.
Yeah. My god. I mean, the
488 AD with Spellblade, not with Gathering Storm, I don't believe. Here's the flank, though. SANDBOX looking for the flank play again.
Yep, even Joker's Blade auto attack is going to be strong as OnFleek finds his way into the backline. Descent lands onto SnowFlower as Summit. A little bit late to this party as Dove launches his way in. That's a 3-man Emperor's Divide. No, sorry, 2. But he's able to get rid of the Nautilus very easily. Dove finds his golden button once again as Summit down to his GA doing some work, but Prey dancing around this fight. Ghost gets into the backline though, Prey in trouble. But if Ghost falls, SANDBOX may just die, but he's not going to. The GA comes back up. A triple kill for the Draven. And you know what we say? It's all about Draven if he's in the game, and it certainly was for that fight.
KT trying to out-teamfight SANDBOX, but BDD dies in his ascended form with his ultimate, trying to channel it. And Ghost just gets to play front to back in this game. He is unbelievably farmed, 27,000 gold, and that's all she wrote. SANDBOX Gaming are in playoffs.
Yep, 2,500 gold from Adoration alone. And Ghost is going to be able to smash through these structures. OnFleek there, as his entourage. And he will finish it off. SANDBOX, they made a bit of a whoopsie in game number 2, but they came back strong in game 3, despite it being our longest game of the season.
And when it came down to the clutch, where KT have let down their fans again and again in summer, been in winning positions, even more so than Jin Air, but not been able to close it out. It does happen again. I think the big turning point was the flank from OnFleek around the Elder Dragon Pit, where they were able to get those picks as KT were in formation. They tried something super creative, having a short-range TP to the other side to not allow KT to focus on one side of the team fight. And in the end, it was all a cunning ruse for the Draven to just rush through the mid lane and in all the pandemonium, a lifesteal, and axe down the members of KT where they stood.
The thing that was really scary was that that fight was way closer than it should have been. This was a 2 Elder Drake team up against a KT that managed to find themselves a Baron. But Prey was playing around it very well. He had a hell of a lot of damage on that Lucian, but just unfortunately, when you've got Ghost able to stand there and throw axes at your face over and over again without very much room for counterplay, it was all over. And a really great effort, though, from KT. And if you turn the nameplates to something like King Zone, do KT find a victory? And look, maybe yes is going to be the answer to that.
KT's last match is against King Zone, and they need results to go their way and a match victory. That is a Sejuani riding OnFleek. That is an interesting setup there, but...
Was he panting?
I couldn't tell right there. His
Well,
tongue was retracted.
He tried to give Sejuani a lot of rests during the last game, so I liked that.
We do wonder if some of our LCK AD carries start to dust off the Draven that they usually do not move towards, as Ghost has had another performance here where he forced it, right? This is not a counter pick. He just said, nope.
Yeah.
First rounding it against KT. And while he was not the reason necessarily, the team won when the game was up to be won in the 30-minute phase. By the end, you know, the incremental gold he put together meant that he was so powerful. Took a long time to get the first cash in, but from there was such a supreme factor in the post-50-minute fights. Don't pick Draven for post-50 minutes, and yet he still was able to do a trick. And now, like we mentioned, SANDBOX continues to hunt for first. So even though there's the asterisk of, wow, KT was so close to beating SANDBOX, when it comes to the results, it's +1 game score and +1 match score to decide a SANDBOX game.
Yep. Quote Lincoln Park, in the end, it doesn't really matter because that is still a W in the match win column. So SANDBOX, I feel like we were looking for an identity for that particular team. And I think it is that in some games they look like geniuses, and in others they don't necessarily as much. But this guy on the Thresh made things work.
It's an important day to salute for our only military service graduate of the LCK current playing staff on Liberation Day. So that's an important thing to show to Koreans around the country. Here's his final fight. It's very creative, because the TP would have been lost to a lot of people. From the right side, Renekton goes from a TP, and Dove comes from multiple directions. But actually, it's all a bit of 3-card Monty, where it's like, oh no, a Renekton, oh no, an Azir. But watch how Ghost gets to play the fight, because he actually, in all the pandemonium, gets to first open up, and then watch how he can play it. Closest target, a lot of health bars and cooldowns down, and he notices BDD is ascended and puts him straight into the death chamber, as we're going to miss it on the top side, so you can watch this.
Yep. Boop. Boop. Fine. It's a fair bit of damage.
Yeah, and then it's nice that you can try to outplay, but with this much lifesteal.
I mean, it's a lot of lifesteal, but what happens if he doesn't have that burn damage that Prey eventually died to, right? Like, there are a lot of what-ifs in this last fight. I think KT, in theory, played it better, but SANDBOX had the second Elder Drake buff, so those health bars were much lower.
I believe he said nice.
Yes. There's a lot of elation here from the SANDBOX camp, but that was a lot closer in the final game than they would have liked to. And if now you're asked to put your money on SANDBOX or SKT, who do you put your money on?
I mean, the team that's got the match wins already, right? At this point, SKT can't catch SANDBOX. So when it comes to regular season, that race is over. SKT can't get to 12 match wins. They can only reach 11.
Yep. After
their loss today. In a best of 5, I think it's a very different scenario, and it's not like your power ranking for SANDBOX went up when it comes to best of 5s on future days by struggling to get over the line over KT. You and I both rated them 3rd in the regular season, largely because of strength of schedule. So Valdez and I, you had SANDBOX. Oh, Valdez and I both had SANDBOX 3rd because of strength of schedule, because largely the KT series was in there. And yet, it was very difficult for them to get over the line. And just because they finished 3rd doesn't mean they don't crash out of playoffs at first ask. And yet, they can also take today as a victory and retool for future series.
Yeah. And they had... Oh, it's just so weird because SANDBOX just have some really beautiful moments where you can analyze each individual part and it looks great by itself. And then they have some absolutely crazy moments where things go completely not the way they want to. Like this fight went brilliantly for KT. Emperor's Divide used on one target. I mean, Dove was not exactly the Azir hard carry performance that we've seen out of other players. However, they pulled themselves together. OnFleek was landing his ultimates like other Sejuanis have certainly not been able to, as this was the cash-in where Ghost picked himself up about $2,000.
Very tricky team to evaluate for that reason. It's amazing how you look at all the teams in the LCK, and the one that's the most similar to SANDBOX and Summer might be a FLICKR, even though it's completely in a different way, right?
Yeah.
A FLICKR are very clear in what they are and they aren't, and SANDBOX can flatter to deceive, but in general have the sort of stability that are needed to win in clutch scenarios. And to call a team like this clutch is a pretty big compliment to being able to play in late game scenarios that can confuse a lot of our other teams. KT, with all their veterancy, haven't been able to engineer the game closes they need. They could have won multiple series that would have put them out of relegation consideration. A lot of big moments in this game. Understandable with how long it went.
Yep, Dove getting caught out by score here was a great moment. I feel like there were great moments for both teams, actually. But in the end, it was largely all about this big Draven. We're going to check out exactly what the SANDBOX players were saying in this last fight.
가줄게. 나텔 된다? 텔. 아래. 천천히.
Connection was quite far away.
걸어.
I guess that's what drove the TV and the assist being there for it.
천천히.
And you see the difference between the late game and the ultra late game. Because often when we talk about late game, we're not talking about this, right? Elder Dragon, double Elder buff. Draven actually ended up ultra powerful in the super late game, and I think this has been something people have talked about. Events and spurts with Draven is how the snowball early game to mid game, absolutely there in the late game, can get picked and dies to a lot of mages, and when you've got overshields and GAs and crazy overcapping of items, when you do just that much damage with that much lifesteal, you actually get kind of a second wind towards the ultra late game.
Yeah, and also when an AD carry gets to the ultra late game, it is difficult to deal with them no matter who they are. We saw that Prey was doing a lot of damage, and Draven just gets there faster because he gets an extra 2.5 thousand gold, for example, in this case, just by his passive alone. So SANDBOX utilized the pickup, and they are able to get themselves to that pivotal win mark with still one more match to go. But a guarantee of playoffs. SANDBOX didn't do so well in the spring playoffs, but now it feels like they have some different wind under their sails.
I wonder who picks up the MVP. I think Ghost is the obvious one. I think OnFleek probably had the biggest agency around SANDBOX not just straight up losing this game in the mid game. I think those are the two decisions. 51,000 damage worth of poke.
That is a lot. That being said, it didn't mean a whole lot. And the fact that the Renekton did half the damage of the Aatrox also feels like it doesn't mean anything either. It's just the fact that those pivotal moments did work out for SANDBOX. It's going to be OnFleek that grabs the MVP. I gave it to Ghost because he was the one that did the most Dravening.
And the numbers are important here, Atlas. He is now joint first at 800 MVP points. I don't have that incorrect. I believe he joins Canyon at 800. Because he picked up...
No, Canyon's 900.
That could be correct also. We have the numbers in front of us.
He joins Summit.
He joined, you're right. So, still, going to be a neck-and-neck race as the season winds down. Very well deserved in this game for OnFleek.
Yeah, this team fight was actually beautiful. Him finding this flank, bypassing the Aatrox, getting the Arctic Assault into the backline, nailing exactly the priority targets. Felt like he kept a cool head on himself every single time.
He had 100% and 0% kill participation at 15 minutes because there weren't any kills in this game till a lot later. 100 points behind, and we've got a cavalcade within striking distance with one match to play for all of those names.
Yep, 3 in equal second there, seeing whether they can catch up to Canyon. Damn, it's been a long night, Papa Smithy, but this is what we're expecting from Week 10. With things being this incredibly close, every match counts, and also every point counts. We're going to have a chat to the members of SANDBOX, so let's throw it over to Jisun for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This would be the translation, and we'll be hearing from Summit OnFleek from SANDBOX. After Griffin Damon walking into playoffs, SANDBOX also made it. But KT, we always thought they're a strong team, but they're now even stronger, so we were a bit surprised, but it's a big relief that we got this win. You know, a lot of teams are actually dropping a game up against KT Rolster, especially game number 1. How was today's match? Oh, the game was getting back and forth a lot. And also, I think we were focusing better than KT Rolster in the early phase.
가져오고 승리로 이끌었습니다. 오늘 OnFleek 선수
Today,
마지막 경기가
OnFleek,
53분 40초.
We had the longest game of the summer split in game number 3.
무슨 말로 반겨주셨나요?
So what did the coaching staff say after the game? Well, he was like, you guys did really well, focusing till the end. You guys had a very strong mentality and so on.
상대가 제라스를
So BDD played Xerath for game number 3. Very unexpected pick, right?
예상을 못한 것도 많고.
Yeah, we really didn't expect that at all. And that poke damage was really huge.
네, 이렇게 예상치 못한 픽에 OnFleek 선수 마지막까지도 경기가 정말 쉽지
So
않았어요.
even in the very last minute of game, we weren't really sure who's gonna win. So how did you guys deal with the situation overall?
제라스가 생존기도 없고.
Well, Xerath has no dash, and his build
생존기를 메꿀 수
was
있는 것도
he wasn't really going for a defensive build to survive. So I was having my eyes on him.
네, 정말 길었던 3세트 경기 마지막
Game number 3 was indeed very long. The final team fight decided the winner. So let's go through the final replay.
자, 이때 이니시가 교전 각은
So
없었어요.
how did you open the team fight at that moment?
이때 저희가 투장로를 먹은 상태여서.
So we had double Inferno, double.
괜찮게만 열리면은 웬만하면 이기겠다고 생각하고 있어서.
So if we just open team fight really well, we knew that we were gonna win. So I was really waiting to open the team fight.
KT가 잘 받아쳤잖아요.
However, KT also struck back really well.
시간이지만 무슨 얘기 나누셨는지 궁금해요.
That fight was actually very close.
투장판 얘기한 거. 서로 뭔 말하는지
So we were
모르겠고 일단.
So for about the communication in that fight, we weren't really like able to understand what we're talking to each other. But when we heard Joker shouting out, "We won!" at the end, we knew that we finally won.
자, 그리고 1세트로 돌아가 보면 서미 선수의 아트록스가 활약을 했는데
And
오늘
going
1세트
back
다
to game number 1, you
사실
were
아트록스가
playing
이런 얘기가 있어요.
Aatrox.
근데 부활 있을 때보다
So,
피음량이
some
증가한
people
지금이
say
더
that,
좋다. 이런
well,
평가들에
the
대해서
healing
서미
from the
선수는
ultimate is better than resurrection.
기능량도 좋고.
The life steal is really good. But and also compared to other champions coming to top lane are very nerfed a lot. So I think Aatrox is really strong.
그래도 아트록스는 편하게.
So Aatrox is a number 1 tier champion currently.
1티어 아트록스를 잡고
For every player to just
활약해
like
주셨는데요.
comfortably lock in.
한타 경쟁력 1세트에서도 여전히 빛났습니다.
SANDBOX's teamfight ability was also on point in game number 1 as well. So let's take a look at the highlights.
자, 이때 굉장히 위험했던
So
상황인데
it was a
very
risky moment.
이제 사일러스는 도망갈 수 있지만.
Well, Silas has the ability to run away, but I want to be a little bit more proactive, so I told him that I'm going to just TP in.
이렇게 샌드박스가 반대로 상대를 몰아치면서
Even though that was actually caught, SANDBOX
오늘
did
굉장히
very great work fighting back.
물론 2세트에는 아쉽게 되기도
But
했지만
also game number 2 was a bit of a hard time for SANDBOX, but
이런 타이밍을 노려서
well, SANDBOX players for all 3 games, you guys are very good at calculating the moments the KT backing to the base. You guys are picking up the Baron. So did you guys prepare that in
그냥 바론
advance?
타이밍 같은 경우는
So speaking of
상대가
Baron
약간
timing,
허점을 보일 때
well,
바로
when we
파고들 수
see
있는
like
타이밍에
them making some
치는데
mistakes
그
or
부분이
when they like
잘
show
보여준
us their weakness, we just go straight to the Baron.
타이밍에 바론을 잡아냈습니다. 자, 이렇게 플레이오프를
So you guys
확정지었습니다.
are locked in to
쉽지
playoff.
않았네요.
It was
마침
not an
오늘
easy
최장
journey,
경기가 나오기도 했고요.
as you had the
그러나
longest game of the
궁금한
summer
게
split.
조커 선수만 얼굴에
And today,
태극기를
Joker
했더라고요.
had a
이유가
national
있나요?
flag
팀피디에서
tattoo on his face.
있나요?
그건 잘 모르겠고.
Why was that?
저희가 이제 다 같이 경기 준비를 하고 있는데.
When we were all
혼자
preparing
이제
for the match, he was alone, like
하고 왔더라고요.
doing some facial tattoos.
그래서
So
뭔가 말하고 한 건
we didn't even know. He didn't even let us know.
퍼포먼스식으로 하신
Maybe it was his performance.
팀원들은 아무도 모르고 있었나요?
네네.
No one knew that?
네. 정말 놀라운 예상치 못한
Oh,
대답이었습니다.
that was a very
네, 조커
unexpected
선수가
answer.
얼굴에 칠한 태극기의 그 기에 힘입어서 오늘
So
또
maybe
샌드박스에게
thanks to
승리가 오지
his
않았나 싶습니다.
performance,
이제
SANDBOX was
마지막
able
경기가
to get this
SKT예요.
win
반드시 잡고
today.
순위에도
And your
좋은
final
결과
opponent
내야겠죠.
for the summer split will be SK Telecom.
마지막 경기도 이제
So for the final match
SK팀만큼
of the regular
준비
split,
잘해서
we're going up
멋있게
against SK
이겨보도록
Telecom, a stronger team. So we will do our best to win the game.
저희가 스프링 때도 13승 5패로
Well,
마무리했었는데
our
이번 서머
split,
시즌도 13승 5패로
spring split,
마무리를
regular
하고
split, we ended up in
여러분
13-5
고생했다고
results. So
오늘
I just want to make it happen
박수 한번
again this time around too.
이렇게 긴 경기
So
승리로
this will be
가져와서
the end of
너무너무
the interview
축하드리고
with
다행이라는
Summit
생각이
OnFleek from
듭니다. 오늘
SANDBOX Gaming,
고생하셨습니다.
and I'm going to
인터뷰
pass it back to our casters.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
네, 서밋 선수, 온플릭 선수 함께했습니다.
Thank you so much, Ji-sun, for your interview translation. I know it is relatively late. I could imagine all of us pretty tired, but we get to come back and do it all again tomorrow. And we've got some interesting matches, Papa Smithy. There is a certain Jin-Air taking on Griffin to start us off. And then it's going to be the big one. Hanwha Life get to come out and see whether they can take down the FLICKR Freaks. And you can see how important it is, because these are your standings. Playoffs have been confirmed for Griffin, SANDBOX, and Damwon. Damwon Gaming are going to be in the lead, given the fact that SANDBOX weren't able to get the 2-0. Otherwise, despite Damwon Gaming having head-to-head, SANDBOX would have been in the lead because of the change of rules we had, meaning that the amount of wins that you have in a row more recently are what set you apart before head-to-head actually comes into account. So, interesting little tidbit there, not actually relevant at this point in time, but might be relevant as we're trying to break ties later in the week.
Let's wait and see how things close, because even though some matches don't appear like they're important, they always have ramifications on the teams around them. And even when we know the business of top 5, there's seeding an order in order to discuss. Damwon Gaming, SKT, victories for Hanwha Life means that one victory over FLICKR and Griffin and it's over. Hanwha Life will be safe in 8th spot. KT need to beat Kingzone on Saturday, possible, with Kingzone's perilous fall in performance, and Hanwha Life needs to lose both matches. Doesn't matter by what margin those wins and losses happen. That is the thing. KT need to reach 6 match wins.
Yep, and they need Hanwha to not. That is how it goes. Like we were talking about, Kingzone should theoretically be a little bit easier than SANDBOX, who have now confirmed the playoffs.
And yet, they were so close today, and you know they're going to be devastated.
Yeah.
They couldn't pick it up here. They'll be watching on tomorrow. FLICKR Freaks versus Hanwha Life. Could be a FLICKR rubber stamping their application for playoffs and eliminating Kingzone Dragon X, or it could be something oh so much more interesting.
We'll have to find out. That will be tomorrow. That'll be our second series of the night. As you can see, this is tomorrow's games. Griffin against Jin-Air Green Wings. And you may look at this and say, oh, a Griffin easy victory. I mean, that's been a spoiler match to end all things in the past, and it was a
Also,
summer gone by.
Let's be clear, no team, in no season has Jin-Air ever been defeated 18 times.
Yeah.
17 times, yes. That was spring season, but never 18, Atlas. So, I'm going to be honest here. They're very overdue for a victory.
They are very overdue for a victory. However, they could also be creating history.
That's true.
With the first time that they've never found a win. Either way, it is going to be super hype. Also, Griffin are going to be confirming at which place in the playoffs they'll be. They'll be getting one step closer. We'll see you tomorrow for LCK.
You take me higher when I feel low. Make my world brighter when I'm alone. I keep on rolling, all with your fuel. You're like my gasoline that makes my dream come true.